Hello and welcome to another in the 10-minute tip series of recorded programs for credit and collection professionals. This one is titled Credit Management Tips. My name is Michael Dennis. I'll be your presenter. Let's begin with an introduction. A bit of good news. There's lots of things, lots of very practical things that you can do today to reduce bad debt write-offs. It's important to remember that the very best time to manage the risk of payment default, to manage the risk of serious payment delinquencies, is when you are in the process of evaluating a credit application. The next best time to do so is when you are periodically updating your credit files to determine whether or not your active customers qualify or still qualify for the credit limits that have been assigned to those active customers. What this argues is that the worst time to do this is when you have an order pending. The worst time to try and manage risk is also when you have a past due balance. In other words, when the customer has your product as well as your money. This program today will include a number of ideas for reducing risk of serious payment delinquencies and default, and will also include ideas on how you can accelerate cash inflows, how you can reduce DSO, how you can get paid sooner rather than later. I'd like to offer a couple of perspectives. So sometimes the more flexibility a collector demonstrates when they're interacting with a delinquent customer, the wider that collector is opening the door to further abuse by that delinquent customer, now and in the future. So what the collector may see as themselves acting appropriately and exercising restraint and good judgment and looking to be collaborative can be seen by some customers as weakness. And sometimes customers try to just plain exploit what they perceive to be as weaknesses on the part of their creditors. All of us have had an experience at some point or another where a customer is just as angry as you've heard a customer this week, this month. They are angry about something. Often what they're angry about is a negative decision. For example, the customer has a $25,000 credit limit and they want a $50,000 credit limit. Or the customer is past due and you've decided to place their pending order on hold and not release it until payment is received, and the customer is angry. Sometimes, from my perspective at least, the louder the customer protests, the more likely it is that the decision that you've made is correct. Another perspective. I think it's vitally important that everyone in the credit department recognize and understand that their obligation in an interaction with a customer is to make certain that the customer knows exactly what action you expect them to take and when. For example, if I'm a collector and I'm on the phone with a customer and I have a commitment from them for payment, they say something like, okay, well, we'll pay that past due invoice on Friday. That's great. But it's not exact. So what I want, of course, is something along these lines. When I talk about exact action, so what I heard you say, Mr. Customer, was this. You're going to ensure that the payment in question, the check in question, is cut, signed, and mailed to us on Friday of this week. And you're going to send that payment to our bank lockbox, P.O. box, and we should have it as a consequence Monday of next week, maybe Tuesday at the latest. That is certainty. That is the exact thing that you want, as opposed to we'll cut the check on Friday. That doesn't tell me anything about when it's going to be signed, when it's going to be mailed, and where it's going. So it's important to lock down, from my perspective, it's important to lock down the commitments to as specific as possible, and again, to create, by doing that, certainty about what is going to happen in your mind and in the customer's mind. Another perspective I have is about payment plans. So let's just assume you have a customer with a $20,000 past due balance. And what they say is, well, we can't pay you in full, but what we want to do is we want to pay you in 3 equal installments. We'll pay you $10,000 this month on the 30th of the month. we'll pay you $5,000 more the 30th of next month, and we'll pay you an additional $5,000 the 30th of the following month. Okay. And let's assume that for whatever reason, and I'm not questioning that it's not possible, there's a good reason to accept that payment plan, but for whatever reason, you agree to that payment plan. So you've done that. What you don't want to do at that point is renegotiate. That's a terrible idea. You've already made a huge concession by agreeing to accept an extended payment plan from a customer. You should never renegotiate an extended payment plan. In fact, what I would encourage is something quite different. Just like the previous bullet point, once I've had a discussion with a customer and for whatever reason I've agreed to accept an extended payment plan, I want to formalize that. I want something in writing, ideally signed by the customer, that talks about the terms and conditions under which we'll do this. What we're going to do is we're going to confirm it in writing, and you're going to sign it, and you're going to acknowledge the outstanding debt, and you're going to promise to pay me the 30th, $10,000 on the 30th, $10,000 next month, $5,000 next month, $5,000 the month after that, to retire the entire $20,000 past due balance. I think in this context, it's also important to let the customer know what the consequences are of the extended payment plan. For example, if you're not going to ship on open account terms until you've received the entire $20,000, you should tell the customer that. If you're going to accept purchases on COD for the next 3 months until they've paid down the $20,000, they should know that. Every party, both parties, everyone should know exactly what's going to happen, what action you're going to take and when, what action they need to take and when, and what the consequences are of their decision and the process by which you've come to decide that the best course of action today is to negotiate a payment plan with the customer. So again, once you've made a concession, that should be cast in stone. More perspectives. Sometimes I've heard customers say this. In fact, I hear it fairly often. Something to the effect of, you've never lost a penny selling to us, and therefore that's justification for whatever action the customer expects you to take. You've never lost a penny, so you should double our credit limit. You've never lost a penny, so you should release orders despite the fact that the account is X number of days past due. You should release orders despite the fact that we bounced a check. You should release orders despite the fact that we broke a payment commitment, because in the past, you've never lost a penny. Well, here's my perspective. Past performance is not a perfect predictor of that particular customer's future actions. So the fact that I haven't lost money in the past is the reason that I extended credit to you today. Another perspective I would ask you to consider is that everybody that interacts with customers needs to speak from a position of strength. Strength comes from knowledge, it comes from expertise, it comes from professionalism. But fundamentally, it's a mindset that says this particular customer, in all likelihood, needs our products and services on an ongoing basis just about as much as we want and need to keep them as an active customer. Again, some customers, if they sense weakness, they will pounce. So the key here is not to be tentative or apologetic in interactions with customers, especially in interactions with delinquent customers. Now, what this doesn't mean is that you can afford to be in any way arrogant or confrontational or rude or condescending or unprofessional. I'm just talking about being confident about your company's products and services, confident about your knowledge, and confident that you have the support of your company, of your boss, of potentially even the sales department for whatever actions you're taking and whatever decisions that need to be made. And I believe that this confidence comes from being educated and from being prepared and from being well informed. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I hope you found the program today to be interesting and informative. There are many other programs in this 10-minute tip series. I invite you to listen to them. Of course, if you're interested in hearing the entire presentation today on credit management, please contact the sponsoring organization or association. The hour-long program, plus or minus, is available on demand. Thank you and have a great day.